Yahweh, Yahweh, come to your beloved Israel. Yahweh, Yahweh, come and dance with us again. Oh, Yahweh, Yahweh, you love us in one new land. Yahweh, yeah. Don't keep playing it. Oh, Yahweh, Yahweh, come and rebuild the tabernacle of your praise. Yahweh, Yahweh, Son of David, take your place. Yeah, Yahweh, Yahweh, let us see the beauty of the Lord today. Yahweh, oh, let the sun, let it shine again on the streets of Jerusalem. Oh, let the sun, let it shine again on the streets of Jerusalem. Oh, Yahweh, Yahweh, come to your beloved, love your praise. Yahweh, Yahweh, Son of David, take your place. Yeah, Yahweh, Yahweh, let us see the beauty of the Lord today. Yahweh, oh, let the sun, let it shine again on the streets of Jerusalem. Oh, let the sun, let it shine again on the streets of Jerusalem. Amen. Come on down and let's build those streets again. Hear us, O shepherd of Israel, you who lead Joseph like a flock, you who sit enthroned between the cherubim. Shine forth before Ephraim, Benjamin, and Manasseh. Awake your might and come and save us. Restore us, O Elohim. Make your face shine upon us that we may be saved. Let your hand rest on the one at your right hand, the Son of Man you have raised up for yourself. Then we will not turn away from you. Revive us and we'll call upon your name. Restore us, O Yahweh Almighty. Make your face shine upon us that we might be saved. Who is moving on the waters? Who is holding up the moon? Who is peeling back the darkness with the burning light of noon, who is standing on the mountains, who is on the earth below, who is bigger than the heavens, and still the lover of my soul. Yeah, yeah, Creator Yah, He's Yahweh, the great I am, He's Yahweh, the Lord of all, He's Yahweh. Rose of Sharon, He's Yahweh, the righteous Son, He's Yahweh, the Echad One, He's Yahweh. Who is He that makes me happy? Who is He that makes me peace? Who is He that brings me comfort and turns the bitter into sweet? Who is stirring up my passions? Who is rising up in me? Who is filling up my hunger with everything I need? I need He's Yahweh. Rose of Sharon, He's Yahweh, the righteous Son, He's Yahweh, the Echad One, He's Yahweh. You are holy and eternal, and forever you will reign. Every knee will bow before you, tongue will confess your name. All the angels give you glory as they stand before your throne. And here on earth we gather to declare your name alone, alone. Yahweh. Rose of Sharon, He's Yahweh, the righteous Son, He's Yahweh, the Echad One, He's Yahweh. Creator Yah, He's Yahweh, the great I am, He's Yahweh, the Lord of all, He's Yahweh. Rose of Sharon, He's Yahweh, the righteous Son, He's Yahweh, the Echad One, He's Yahweh. Yahweh, yeah, Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. Rose of Sharon, He's Yahweh, the righteous Son, He's Yahweh, the Echad One, He's Yahweh. Creator Yah, He's Yahweh, the great I am, He's Yahweh, the Lord of all, He's Yahweh. Rose of Sharon, He's Yahweh, the righteous Son, He's Yahweh, the Echad One, He's Yahweh. Yahweh's love will last forever. His faithfulness till the end of time. Yahweh is a loving Yah. Yahweh, the faithful one. Have no fear, for I am with you, and I will be your shield. Go now and leave your homeland, for I will give you a home. Yes, Yahweh's love will last forever. His faithfulness till the end of time. Yahweh is a loving Yah. Yahweh, the faithful one. You shall be my chosen people, and I will be your Yah. I will bless your name forever and keep you from all harm. For Yahweh's love will last forever. His faithfulness till the end of time. Yahweh is a loving Yah. Yahweh, the faithful one. See now our land before you. It's rich with food and rain. No more are you to wander, for this will be your home. For Yahweh's love will last forever. His faithfulness till the end of time. Yahweh is a loving Yah. Yahweh, the faithful one. Yahweh, Yahweh, Ancient One, yet you're here today. He's the ageless one and the changeless one, showing love to all generations. Show us your glory, O Lord. Let your goodness pass before us, right before our eyes, and we will worship, and we will bow down, and we will call you the Lord, and we will kneel before the Maker of the universe, and we will call you the Lord. Yahweh, Yahweh, faithful one, you have shown us the way through the years, through all our lives. You have shown you are faithful to the end. So show us your glory. Show us your glory, oh Lord. Let your goodness pass before us, right before our eyes, and we will worship, and we will bow down, and we will call you the Lord, and we will kneel before the Maker of the universe, and we will call you the Lord, and we will worship, and we will bow down, and we will call you the Lord, and we will kneel before the Maker of the entire universe, and we will still call you our own personal Lord. For Yahweh so loved us that he gave us his only begotten Son. If we would just amen him, we would have everlasting life. That's faithful. Faithful to Abraham. You were faithful to Moses. You were faithful to David. And you're faithful to us today. You have shown your faithfulness to all generations. We open our eyes to see your glory and your beauty. We worship you, Yahweh. We worship Yahweh. 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 And we will worship, and we will bow down, and we will call you the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And we will kneel before the Maker of the universe. And we will call you the Lord of all our lives. And we will worship, and we will bow down, and we will call you our Lord Adonai. And we will kneel before the Maker of the entire universe. And we will still call you our Lord. Yahweh. Yahweh. The days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I'll raise up to David a righteous branch, a king who will reign wisely and do what is just and right in the land. And in his days Judah will be saved and Israel will live in safety. And this is the name by which he'll be called, Yahweh Zedeknu, Yahweh our righteousness. Amen. Yeah. You don't want to see the pictures. Might. Let's see. Does that look better? Would you? Okay. Okay. Well, it's good to see everybody out on a midweek. I know you're tired. But so many things have been happening, and so we needed to go over some things. And so for the next 2 weeks, we're taking a divergence away from our temple studies so that we can know our enemy. Now, we do not fight a war of flesh and bone, but we fight a battle that is just as real against thrones and principalities in the spirit realm. But I'm going to tell you something. It bleeds over into the physical realm. Don't think it doesn't. Right now, our government and the governments of this world do not understand that they're in the middle of a holy war. Forces in the Middle East understand this. But in the West, they don't get it. But I want you to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So we're going to embark on a series of studies called The Second Coming of the Hashashin. The Second Coming of the Hashashin. In the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, a book that a young man named Ahmed was curious about and studied with the Gnostics. And this is what it says. The kingdom of the Father is like a man who wants to kill an important person. He unsheathed his sword and stuck it in the wall to assure himself his hand would be firm. Then he killed the person. End of quote. On June the 28th, 2005, our then the United States President George W. Bush said, and I quote, "The troops here and across the world are fighting a global war on terror. A war reached our shores on September the 11th, 2001. The terrorists who attacked us and the terrorists we face murder in the name of a totalitarian ideology, Islam, that hates freedom, rejects tolerance, and despises all dissent. Their aim is to remake the Middle East and the world in their own grim image of tyranny and oppression. By toppling governments, by driving us out of the region, and by exporting terror. They have continued to kill in Madrid, Istanbul, Jakarta, Casablanca, Riyadh, Bali, and elsewhere. The terrorists believe that free societies are essentially corrupt and decadent, and with a few hard blows they can force us to retreat. They are mistaken. This nation, the United States, will not wait to be attacked again. We will defend our freedom. We will take the fight to the enemy." End of quote. In Matthew 24:6-9 it says, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is not come. Nation will rise against nation, and ethnic group against ethnic group. All these are the beginning of birth pains." If there are birth pains, that means that there is a birth that's going to happen. And what is that birth? That birth that he's talking about is the end of days, when the age of redemption that we're right now living in gives way to the age of the Messiah. But before that can happen, the wrath of Yahweh must occur. We stand amazed and terrified at the ferociousness of terrorism, like we did last week at the Boston Marathon bombing. It horrifies us to see ordinary people beheaded only to be exploited on Arab television and the internet. We saw whole limbs blown off in that crazy bombing. And we wondered what could be behind such anger and hatred. Islamic fundamentalism is rapidly becoming mainstream. In Akbar Ahmed's book, Islam Under Siege, he points out that the Taliban are no longer a fringe group in Islam. Many are finding themselves drawn to their teachings. As Western people, we just don't get what's behind the animosity of terrorism. If I heard it once, I heard it several times. One anchor after another saying, "Why the hatred? Why do they hate us so badly? So much so that they would commit suicide to kill us and our way of life." To understand this, we have to go all the way back to 1092 CE. High atop the walls of a medieval castle called Almut, the Eagle's Nest, that was perched on a craggy peaks of the Persian mountains, 60 miles northwest of Tehran. There that day, two men met, the personal ambassador of the Shah of Iran and a veiled figure who claimed to be deity incarnate on the earth, Al-Hassan ibn al-Sabah, the Grand Sheikh, or more literally, the old man of the mountains, leader of the mystical terrorist organization called the Hashashin, the hashish eaters, or as they're known in the West, the assassins. Hassan bin Sabah broke the silence and he said, and I quote, "You see my Taliban?" Taliban means disciple. It's Arabic, similar to the Hebrew word talmidim, It means disciple. You see my disciple standing guard over the turret? Watch. Hassan bin Sabah made a hand signal. Instantly, the white-robed figure threw up his hands in salutations and cried out, Allahu Akbar, and cast himself headlong 2,000 feet to a certain death. Sabah said, I have 70,000 men and women throughout Asia that will do exactly what I ask of them, even to include giving their own life. Can your sovereign, the Shah, say the same? And he asked me to surrender to his sovereignty. You have your answer. Go. This may sound like a scene from the adventures of Sinbad, but this is historical fact. This organization has held sway from Kosovo to Ethiopia, from India to the Philippines, and is still today one of the most sinister and bloodthirsty secret societies that have ever existed. September 11th, 2001 proves it. The story of the Hashashin is a tale of sex, drugs, myth, and murder. And they have one mortal enemy, the secret society of the military order of the Temple of Jerusalem, or the Knights Templar. In order to understand the root of this conflict, we have to, as always seems to be, we have to go to the scriptures. Abraham said to Yahweh, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before you." In Genesis 17:18. This was the cry of a father. He had a son. It was his first son, although it wasn't his legitimate son. This was the offspring of a concubine, a Hagar. Hagar is not a name, it's a title. It means the alien, the Gentile. This Gentile woman had given birth to a son. His name was Ishmael. Sarah, who first had given her handmaiden to Abraham, had pulled back and said, "No, no, no. Send them away." Abraham was brokenhearted because he had love for these two. But he did what his wife asked and sent Hagar to Beersheba. And he cried out to the father, "Don't abandon my son. Cause him to live for you. Oh, that Ishmael might live before you." It is here we're introduced to Ishmael, the father of the Arab people. In the 17th chapter of Genesis, we are given the particulars of the Ishmaelite promise. Yes, there was a covenant made with Ishmael that day because of Abraham. His name tells the conditions of this covenant. Ish, man, Shema, hear, El. Yahweh has promised to hear this man when he cries out to him. Yahweh has promised, "I will hear you, I will bless you, I will make you fruitful and will multiply you exceedingly, and I will make you a great nation." Genesis 17 and 20. Yahweh has promised to hear the Arab if he calls out in a broken and a contrite spirit in the midst of his affliction. In fact, before the spread of Islam, most Arabs practiced the faith of Yahweh. The word says Yahweh is near to those who have a broken heart and saves such as have a contrite spirit. Psalms 34 and 18. The problem is the Arab is not easily broken. In Genesis 16 and 12, we're told what kind of man the Ishmaelites would be. He shall be a wild ass of a man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all of his brethren, Israel. The Ishmaelite would be blessed if they would live in peace with the Israelites. If not, there would be a conflict born out of a curse. I will bless those that bless you. I will curse him who curses you. And in you shall all the families of the earth be mixed. Genesis 12, 2 through 3. I will establish my covenant with Isaac. So the covenant of Yahweh would be made with Isaac, and Ishmael's blessing would be tied to the covenant of Isaac, because it's in Isaac that your seed shall be called, the word says. I will establish my covenant with Isaac for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. Genesis 17:19. So the Arabs are Ishmaelites. They're descendants of Ishmael. We must also include Esau's lineage, because contrary to his mother's wishes, he marries into the Ishmaelite dynasty. Esau took his wives from the women of Canaan, Adah, daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Oholibamah, daughter of Anna, and granddaughter of Zebeon the Hivite, Besemat, daughter of Ishmael, and sister of Nebaioth. Adah bore Eliphaz to Esau. Basemat bore Reuel, and Oholibamah bore Yeush, Yalam, and Korah. These were the sons of Esau who were born to him in Canaan. Genesis 36, 1 through 5. Notice he marries into the family of Ishmael by marrying Basemat. So what kind of man is the Arab? He's a composite of Ishmael and Esau. Put the two descriptions together and this is what we get. He shall be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all of his brethren. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother, and it shall come to pass when you become restless that you shall break his yoke off from your neck. Genesis 16, 11 through 13, and 27 and 40. So you'll be dwelling in the midst of the Israelites, but you will be given to the sword, and eventually you will have war with your brother, Israel, and break the yoke off your back. We see that today, don't we? We see the military conflict against the Ishmaelites and the Israelites. Any policeman will tell you the worst kind of conflict is a domestic conflict, war between brothers. The term Arab originally referred to the nomadic tribes of the Arabian Peninsula, but it soon encompassed all the descendants of Ishmael and Esau. Arabian expansion began even before the dawn of the Messianic Nazarene movement. But it was Islam that pushes the Arab to conquer the Middle East and the whole world, and Islam did not emerge until the 7th century CE. In fact, it's the newest of the major religions. Islam, an Arabic word that means submission, is a religion that was founded by Ahmed the camel driver, who became the false prophet of the Arabian desert, usually known as Muhammad, the self-ordained Moses of the Arab people. Listen to some of his teachings. Allah's apostle said, I have been made victorious with terror. In Bukhari v4. In Quran 8:12 it says, I shall terrorize the infidels, so wound their bodies and incapacitate them because they oppose Allah and His Prophet. Now Allah just means the High One. It's the same word in Hebrew as Ilah. It's singular for Elohim. And Allah is not really a name. His real name is Sin. Sin, the moon god of the Arab superstitions. In Bukhari v9 it says, the prophet said, I have been given the keys of eloquent speech and given victory with terror. In Quran 9:5, fight and kill the disbelievers wherever you find them. Take them captive, harass them, lie in wait and ambush them, using every possible means of war. In Quran 9:112 it says, the believers fight in Allah's cause, they slay and are slain, kill and are killed. In the 29th verse of that same chapter it says, fight those who do not believe until they all surrender, paying the protective tax, that's extortion, in submission. In Quran 8:39 it says, fight them until all opposition ends and all submit to Allah. In Quran 8:39 it says, so fight them until there is no more fitna or disbelief, and submit to the religion of Allah alone in the whole world. And then in the Quran 2:190 it says, jihad is holy fighting in Allah's cause with full force of numbers and weaponry. So much for saying that it was just a spiritual struggle. It is given utmost importance in Islam and is one of its pillars. It's not optional, ladies and gentlemen. Muhammad said, jihad is compulsory. Does this sound like a religion of peace? His Arabian neighbors laughed at Muhammad when he began to preach. They regarded him as a lunatic and a public bore who deserved no attention. Remember what Yeshua said unto them, a prophet is without honor in his own country and in his own house, in Matthew 13:57. Fake or not, a prophet is just not honored in his own house. When Muhammad continued to annoy them with his preaching, they decided to shut him up permanently. Muhammad heard of the plot, and in the dead of the night, he fled to Medina together with Abu Bakr, his trusted Taliban or disciple. And this happened in the year 622 CE. It's the most important date in the Mohammedan history, and it is known as the Hijra, the year of the great flight. In Medina, no one knew Muhammad, and he found it easier to proclaim himself a prophet. For 7 years he preached to the people of Medina. He was given a book. Supposedly, one day he was meditating. He had been on a caravan for 4 years. And he had studied with the Christians in Galilee. He had studied with the Karaites in Tiberias. So he was meditating on what he had learned. When he says that while in a cave, suddenly the archangel Gabriel came to him and gave him the Quran. It's interesting because he was illiterate. So he could have been given the yellow pages, he would have known. But he says he was given the Quran, and that was the guidance to humanity. In Quran 2:2 it says, "This is the book. In it is guidance sure, without doubt, to those who fear Allah." Trouble is, there was no Quran for 300 years after Muhammad. A dirty little secret they don't want you to know. But I digress. One of the Boston bombers, the one that's still alive, he told someone that the Bible is just a bad copy of the Quran. I've read the Quran. It's just a bad revision of the Torah. It blurs Miriam of Moses with Miriam, the mother of Yeshua. It says Haman was an Egyptian, not an Amalekite. It has the story of Esther happening in Egypt instead of Persia. I told you he was illiterate. No. The Quran is just a bad revision of the Torah, and the Torah is the absolute truth. Says Psalms 119, 142. In Medina, there were 3 main Jewish tribes that lived there. They made up the most of the city. The Banu Kanuka, the Banu al-Nadir, and the Banu Quraiza. They refused to accept Muhammad as a prophet because these were Orthodox, covenant-keeping Jews. The poor, Hanukkah and Al-Nadir, he allowed to evacuate because they didn't have anything for him to steal. But the Quraiza was another case. They were rich. They were landowners. They had huge flocks. He marched 900 Arabian men towards the Quraiza, and there he took 900 men captive. And he dug trenches in the middle of the square in the market of the city in Medina, telling them that if they would just lay down their goods, he would set them free. And why would they doubt him? He had set the other Jews free. And so they did. They complied. They signed over all of the land to him, expecting to go free. But suddenly the men, the Arabs, stood forth and pulled out their swords and beheaded all the men, raped all the girls and women, and pushed them into slavery. This is considered one of the most horrific crimes of the Middle Ages. A religion of peace, Islam? No, a religion of pieces. For only in Islamic countries are Jews and Christians being killed and driven out. Highest execution rate in the world of men, women, and children are in Iran. Death fatwas are constantly giving stonings, beheadings, honor killings. So why is this called a religion of peace, killing so many people? They still, to this day, on the anniversary of the killing of these Jews in Medina, it is a holy holiday for Islam. And they have a saying that they like to sing during this time. Kabar, Kabar, O Jews, the army of Muhammad will return. A religion of peace? Baptizing his army in blood, Muhammad began an evangelistic campaign, not like Billy Graham, but a campaign by sword against Mecca, Without great difficulty, he took Mecca and slaughtered a number of its inhabitants. Suddenly, the people of Mecca found it quite easy to accept Muhammad as a really great prophet. Muhammad conquered Arabia and established his empire by ruling devotees who were ready even to assassinate their own father at his command. Yet he himself was an unbeliever. He knew the truth. He knew he was making this up. He fabricated verses attributing them to Allah whenever it suited him. And his disciples would write them down. That would ultimately become the Quran. For example, when he lusted after his own daughter-in-law, or when he had an affair with Maryah, a maid of one of his wives, he claimed that Allah or Gabriel revealed to him a secret that justified his actions. Obviously, Muhammad did not receive any of these revelations. He knew he was lying, but he was fooling the masses. He was using religion to gain control over them and raise himself to supreme power. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who pours out lies will not go free, says Proverbs 19:5. Yahweh had to judge Muhammad. From its very inception, Islam has been a tool of domination and crowd control. Muslim leaders are generally aware of this, but they make a show of devotion in order to impress the foolhardy and gain the obedience of the ignorant masses of the believers. If a ruler listens to lies, all his officials become wicked, says Proverbs 29:12. Muhammad was a pedophile. He raped a 9-year-old girl. Listen what Islam says of this. Muhammad, age 51, with his favorite child bride, Aisha, age 6. Muhammad would take a bath with little girls and fondle her. Bukhari 629 or 6298. Muhammad deflowered prepubescent Aisha when he was 54 and she was 9, according to Bukhari 7:62 through 88. In Islam, rape, marriage, and divorce of prepubescent children is allowed, according to Quran 65:4. Muslims, in fact, Allah himself considered Muhammad to be the ideal man. It says so in Quran 68:4 and 33:21. How convenient. What a wicked man. Having put his religious house in order, Muhammad now began to enjoy his power as undisputed ruler of a large number of Arab tribes. As for the false prophet himself, he went on preaching the lie of Allah and proclaiming new rules of conduct until he died quite suddenly of a fever on June the 17th of the year 632 CE. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who pours out lies will perish, says Proverbs 19:9. His successor, or caliph, which means representative, leader of the Muslims, was his father-in-law, Abu Bakr, who had shared the early dangers of the Prophet's life. He was Muhammad's original Taliban. 2 years later, Abu Bakr died, and Omar ibn al-Khattab followed him. In less than 10 years, he conquered Egypt, Persia, Phoenicia, Syria, and the land of Israel, then called Palestine, and made Damascus the capital of the first Mohammedan world empire. Omar was succeeded by Ali, the founder of the Shiites, the husband of Muhammad's daughter, Fatima. But a quarrel broke out upon a point of Muslim doctrine, and Ali was murdered. He was buried in Najaf, Iraq. Islam has always been a religion of violence, not of peace. 3 of the first 4 caliphs were, in fact, assassinated. After Ali's death, the caliphate was made hereditary, and the leaders of the faithful who had begun their career as the spiritual head of the religious sect became the rulers of vast empire. They built a new city on the shores of the Euphrates, near the ruins of Babylon, and they called it the daughter of Babylon, or Baghdad. And organizing the Arab horsemen into regiments of cavalry, they set forth in an evangelistic effort by force to bring the Muslim faith to all unbelievers. In the 7th century, Islam split into two divisions. The Sunnis, Sunnah means the actions of the Prophet, who regard Muhammad as the bringer of divine inspiration, and the Shiites, Shia just simply means the party or the other party, who considered Hazrat Ali, the fourth Imam, the son-in-law of Muhammad, as the most important. Many Muslims belong to the Shi'atu Ali, the party of Ali, the Prophet's son-in-law, and they thought he should become caliph. He did so after the murder of Caliph Uthman in 656, but Caliph Ali was in turn murdered in 661. And the caliphate passed to the rival Sunni Umayyads, perpetuating the schism between the Shia and the Sunni that has caused a bitter division in Islam ever since. You might have noticed they're constantly, if we're not in the vicinity, they bomb one another. Ali's son, Hazrat Imam Hussein, remember that name, Hussein. Hazrat Imam Hussein sought to overthrow the Umayyads, but in the year 680, on the 10th day of the Muslim month of Muharram, the first month of the Islamic calendar, while on a journey to Karbala, Hazrat Imam Hussein, his family members, and a number of his Taliban were surrounded by the forces of Yazid, the Umayyad ruler of the time, at a place called Karbala in Iraq in the 61st year of the Hijra. Remember the Hijra? So it was just 61 years after Muhammad had gone to Mecca. A lot has happened in just those 61 years that I'm recalling, isn't it? A lot of murder and bloodshed. During the siege, Hussein, his family members, and a number of his Taliban were deprived of food. They were totally surrounded, and they just waited about, deprived them of food and water, and finally, as they were trying to get water, slaughtered them. After the enemies killed all the warriors and burned the camps of Imam Hussein, they cut all the heads off the warriors and put the head of Imam Hussein and his sons and his brother Al-Abbas on the tops of javelins, and they left the headless bodies. Some trust in chariots, some in horses. But we, Israel, we remember the name of Yahweh our Elohim, says Psalms 20:7. Not so with the Muslim. The Muslim trust in chariots, trust in horses, trust in spears and in swords. They are a bloodthirsty lot. The Shias observe this festival by putting on black clothes as the month of Muharram approaches, because black is regarded as the color of mourning. The majalis, or assemblies, are held every day during the first 9 days, where Shia preachers or orators relate the incidences of this martyrdom of Hazrat Imam Hussein and his party in great detail. Now think about this. Think of those men down in modern history that took the name Hussein, and how bloodthirsty and how conniving they are. Remember Saddam Hussein? Wait a minute. Our president's middle name is after Imam Hussein. No, I'm not trying to be cute. Is there a tie between Imam Hussein, this story, the Hashashin, and our president? Let's continue to study. So every year, on the 10th of Muharram, people go to Karbala and they relive those days. On the 10th day of Muharram, large processions are formed and the devoted followers parade the streets holding banners and carrying models of the mausoleum of Hazrat Imam Hussein and his people who fell at Karbala. They're called the Days of Ashura. They show their grief and sorrow by inflicting wounds on their own bodies with sharp metal tied to chains with which they scourge themselves. This is done in order to depict the sufferings of the martyrs. It's a sad occasion, and everyone in the procession chants, "Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein," with loud wails of lamentations. Generally a white horse, beautifully decorated for the occasion, that looked just like Hussein's horse, a Grand Arabian. The horse heads the procession to mark the empty mount of Hazrat Imam Hussein after his martyrdom. Hussein said this, "It's better to die on your feet than live on your knees." Doesn't sound like a holy man, does it? Sounds like a warrior. Better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. Within 100 years of Muhammad's death, 100 years of Muhammad's death, the territory under the control of Islam virtually exploded from the Arabian Peninsula, extending from Middle Asia to the western gates of the Mediterranean. The campaign of evangelism by the sword reached right up into France until turned back by Charles Martel or Charlemagne at the Battle of Poitiers in 738. However, Islam was successful in conquering most of the Spanish peninsula in 718, which the Muslim called Al-Andalus, the land of the Vandals. Islam was kicked out of the Spanish peninsula in 1493 by the Spanish reconquest. Look at that. They conquered Spain in 718, and it wasn't until 1493 that the Spaniards took back over their country, led by El Cid. Wait a minute. You that remember these dates, in 1492, no. The Catholic Church declared war on the Jews and said they'll either die or they will convert. They said the reason why Islam has dominated on the shores of Europe is because we've let those Jews live with us. So they scourged the Jews, and they believed that's why they were able to kick the Moors, Muslims, out. But ladies and gentlemen, that's not why. It's because they got bloodthirsty, and by being bloodthirsty, they got warlike, and they just got tired of being oppressed, and they threw the Muslims out. They kicked out the Spanish, or kicked out the Muslims out of the Spanish peninsula in 1493 and left a gaping wound in the side of Islam. The date on which Islam was kicked out was September the 11th. They never forgot it. They considered the World Trade Center as the gateway to the modern West. All land conquered by Islam is called Dar al-Islam, the zone of submission to Allah. It is a fundamental doctrine of Islam that no part of Dar al-Islam can ever be ceded permanently to the infidel. They intend to get it back. The rest of the world is known as Dar al-Harb, the zone of war. For it is the duty of Islam to bring the struggle, to bring the jihad to the infidels and offer them conversion by the sword. From the early days of the split, the Shiites relied on secrecy, organization, and initiation for survival. Even though they were the minority, they believed they could overcome the majority and even the whole world by superior organization and power. The thing that unified the organization was the worship and ritual of Hazrat Ali, whose rank and file were willing to struggle and even give their lives for world domination. The secret army of the Shiites was called the Al-Dawa al-Jadidi, which means the new doctrine. But their enemies just called them the Hashashin, the hashish eaters, the assassins. Using distorted Islamic religious imagery and a series of severe mental and physical exercises that they called initiations, they were able to program their members to kill themselves with or without reason, literally on command, or kill themselves while executing assassinations or joyously going on missions of certain death. Like the kamikaze of Japan, these hashish eaters would whoop themselves up into a frenzy, a drug-inflated frenzy, and they could do so much evil. Their members did anything asked of them because they were programmed to believe they would immediately go to paradise as a martyr for Islam and be awarded with scores of waiting virgins and all other forms of comfort and wealth. Islam is a religion of lust and passion, where Yahweh tells us that we will ever be with Him, and that is the reason we want to go and live in the New Jerusalem, to go to that city where the Lamb is the light. That's not good enough for the Hashashin. They want women, wine, and all kinds of pleasures. Sounds like to me, instead of walking in the Spirit, they're lusting in the flesh. The Assassin's Creed goes like this: nothing is true, everything is permitted. In trying to explain this, Ezio Adore de Forenza says this, and I quote, "To say that nothing is true is to realize that the fundamentals of society are fragile, and that we must be the shepherds of our own civilization. To say that everything is permitted is to understand that we are the architects of our own actions, and that we must live with our actions, whether glorious or tragic." End of quote. That's for the masses' consumption. In reality, what it means is keep the Fedayeen wondering what's true. And everything's permitted means that no matter how debauched they get, as long as they're on our side, it's okay, it's permitted. In a letter sent by spy Hajisa Mabharat in the Emirates of Yalaram to Prince Umachid Krinagar of Brahmiyat, he reported, and I quote, "In my researches, I have discovered a society by the name of the Kinyar al-Shahara of the Desert Dagger Brotherhood." Another brotherhood. The Brotherhood is a highly secretive society of men and women who frantically follow the teachings of the holy Al-Kalim. These Hashashin strike from the shadows to slay those who would speak or act against the will of Al-Kalim or his clerics. It is important to note that these slayers are not the same as assassins of infidel lands, for they do not work for money, nor do they necessarily strike quietly. Indeed, these people work motivated only by their religious beliefs, and they oft perform their deeds in broad daylight before a crowd of people, as they slay only those daring to oppose the eternal truth. Islam, in other words. Their wrath is most often targeted at foreigners who somehow offend Al-Kalim. However, they are extremely fanatical, and it is often enough to utter a wrong word to earn the Hashashin's anger. End of quote. After writing this letter and posting it, the spy was never heard or seen again. The Hashashin, they set up their first school in Cairo, calling it the Madrasa, or the abode of learning. Our president went to a Hadrasha in Indonesia. Here they could indoctrinate the young and disenfranchised into a full devoted fighting force. The caliph saw to it that the teachers in the school were no ordinary men. The Chief Justice of the Egyptian Supreme Court taught law. The Commander-in-Chief of the Egyptian Army taught martial arts and strategy. The Third Minister of the Caliph taught religion. In every country where the Hashashin had a school, the highest officials of the government formed the faculty body. Classes were divided into study groups, and those study groups were divided by male and female. Collectively, these classes made up the assembly of wisdom. All lessons were meticulously prepared from the Quran and other Islamic writings and submitted to the Caliph for his literal seal of approval. At the end of the class, all students filed by kissing the seal. For the Caliph claimed his position through descendancy from Muhammad to Ali, to the caliphs of Abu Bakr and Omar ibn al-Khattab, and all caliphs after them. The Hashashin had 9 degrees of initiation. The first degree, nothing is true. They disenfranchised these Feda'in, and that's what the initiate was called, Feda'in. They disenfranchised the Feda'in from their belief system, taking it all away to give something in return. The second degree, the student accepts the imams as the true and only source of secret spiritual knowledge and power. The third degree, the secret esoteric names of the 7 imams are revealed. The fourth degree, the succession of the ascended masters are revealed. The fifth degree, the student was given the power to influence others by means of a personal concentration of the magical word Akzabati. The sixth degree, the student was schooled in the art of persuasive speech and debate. The seventh degree was given the great revelation. All humanity and all creation are one, which include the creative and destructive power. Only the Hashashin know about this power and know how to access it through the Imam called the Lord of Time. The eighth degree, the student is taught all religion, philosophy, and politics are bogus. All that mattered was the revelation and power imparted by the Imam. And the ninth and last degree revealed the secret. There was no such thing as belief. All that mattered was action, and the reason for the action was to fulfill the wish of the Caliph, the direct descendant of Muhammad and Ali. So by the ninth degree, it didn't matter what you believed. All belief is bogus. All you need to worry about, your religion, is to please the Caliph, the direct descendant of Muhammad. They were also taught how to properly kill a man using poisons or a dagger. Initiates were trained to learn multiple languages and cultures, as well as the dress and manner of merchants, monks, and soldiers. Monks? You mean they could become Christian? Didn't matter what they were. All belief is bogus. All that mattered is what the Caliph said to do. Moreover, they were taught to fake beliefs and devotion to every major religion. So that's why when an Arab comes here, I watch them. No matter how long they stay with us, I watch them. Because I'm aware of what the Hashashin says. They fake beliefs and devotion to every major religion. In this way, a Hashashin could pretend to be anyone from a well-to-do merchant to a Jewish mystic to a Christian monk or a common soldier or a citizen, like this bomber from Boston who just had become a citizen on September the 11th of last year, 2012. He faked his allegiance to this country, and when his imam told him it was time to strike, they killed that little 8-year-old boy. Oh, what warriors they are. Placing that bomb right at the feet of that 8-year-old boy, knowing he would certainly die. In 1058, the Hashashin marched on Baghdad and gained temporary control of the city and coined money in the caliph's name, which caused the Turks to retaliate and take Baghdad and executing the Hashashin sultan. Then the Turks marched to Cairo and shut down the Hashashin school. By 1123, the Hashashin had gone completely underground. It took a dramatic, dynamic leader to rescue the injured Hashashin organization, and they found him in Hassan bin Sabah, the old man of the mountain, a Shiite from Khorasan, located in eastern and northeastern Iran. He claimed to be an Arab from Kufa, 6 miles northwest of Najaf, because his pedigree ensured his claim of religious succession. But in reality, he was a Persian Aryan, a Caucasian, not Arabian. But notice where he's from, Khorasan. Muhammad, before he died, right before he died, he gave this prophecy. If you see the black flags coming from Khorasan, then go and join there, even if you have to crawl, because there is the Caliphate of Allah, the Mahdi. End of quote. Ladies and gentlemen, these two bombers from Boston, that prophecy, there was a movie on their laptop concerning that prophecy. The Hashashin was Hassan bin Sabah's organization. He was from Khorasan.